Dallas some time ago with great fondness. I did a concert there with the Dallas Orchestra a couple, 2-3 years ago, and have visited a few times, once with you on a junket with reporters. It's a great city.
Yes. And now, of course, for Star Trek II, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, Bill, but I just was particularly taken by one aspect of the film, and that is, in Star Trek II, it makes it respectable to be over 35.
But not much over, and not very respectable. Yes, well, it's the movie is about youth and old age and death and love and whatever.
And that middle age group, the way that that is handled in the movie, for instance, you with the glasses and that routine. Did you have any reservations about that aspect, that maybe it would be a turn-off to young people?
Well, it in fact was suggested not to do it at one point by some people who thought they had my best interests at heart. My feeling has always been that the more human you can make a character, the more vulnerable, the more identifiable, the better it is. And so we sought all means possible to do that.
Of course, the movie Star Trek II has been getting a lot of publicity even before it's open because of the ending and is Spock dead or isn't he dead? How do you feel about that, Bill? Do you wish all that controversy hadn't opened up at this point?
Well, we knew it would. The moment a decision to write the kind of script we did, we knew that there would be a great deal of controversy, and we knew that we had to walk a very fine line between trying to hide it and trying to make the picture so that people would have to go see it to understand what all the fuss was about, because it's not sure. We don't know that Spock dies. The audience themselves have to go to make up their own mind. So the controversy was there. It's part and parcel of the angle that this film takes, and I think it's a good hook.
Is there anything at all to the fact that Leonard Nimoy wanted to be written out?
Yes, that was the factor. What we haven't talked very much about is the fact that Leonard had such a bad experience, with the first film, and with the edgy feeling of wanting to get on with his career other than Mr. Spock, which of course he has done so successfully over the years. But he changed his mind in the course of filming. He had such a good feeling, and we were all working so well together, that he changed his mind, and so that necessitated other things.
Bill, when Star Trek was on the NBC network for 3 years, why did they take it off?
Because the cost per thousand was not there. All media works on how much does it cost to reach how many people. If only 30 million people are watching instead of 50 million, the networks feel, and those are just arbitrary figures, the network feels that in a middling show, a show that hovers around the 40th most popular show to the 50th most popular show. If you're above 50, you're going to be canceled. If you're below 40, you're pretty sure of staying on the schedule. But if you're in the 40s, you're in a gray area. And the thinking is, by the network, that if we take them off the air and put something else on, we may get a show that'll be more popular. So let's take that show off the air. And that's why so many good shows that are in that middle area, that a vast part of the viewing population wants to see, but it's not the majority of the viewing population. That's why they go off the air when there's some question.
Bill, I've often thought, though, that maybe by going off the air when it did, that was really the thing that started the whole mania of the Trekkies and all. Do you feel that way?
I think what happened was, when it went off the air, the show went into syndication, which is playing those hours on independent stations, on separate independent stations around the country, including, for example, Dallas. I don't know what your channels are that aren't network channels, but those channels that are independent of the networks then receive these hour films, and they then would slot them, program them according to the program manager's sense of where it should go. Invariably, those men put it in an earlier time slot, and that seemed to be the key to its popularity.
And you think that's really when the Trekkie movement took off. How do you explain the Trekkie movement?
Not well. There is a large vocal group of people of all ages and from all parts of the country and from all walks of life who are so enthusiastic about Star Trek that they follow every twist and turn. And they are very either verbal or literal. When they'll literate. They'll write and speak very loudly about what they think Star Trek should be doing, or if somebody's mistreating, or if they take it off the air in some city. A lot of people declaim that, and it's put back on. To explain it, I don't know. Star Trek appeals to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, and I think it's on an individual basis.
Has it ever really gotten in the way? I'm talking now about the fans. You know, do they ever just sort of converge on you, or do they really, what I'm trying to say is, are they ever a pain in the neck?
It's not polite to characterize it as a pain in the neck. Only under extreme circumstances does it become painful. Ordinarily, it's either an irritation in that it's interfering with something you want to do privately, or it's a pleasure in that there are, most of the fans that come up to me are not the people with designs on your clothes, and they're not clothes designers. They are, they're very loving, gentle people. It's a real pleasure to deal with them. The only problem is I don't want to deal with them all the time. I seek my privacy, and it can interfere with it. But on the whole, the Star Trek fan is a wonderful person.
Bill, you do so many other things besides Star Trek, but just for instance, if you never worked again, could you live comfortably off all the Star Trek business?
Do you mean financially? Uh-huh. Probably, I guess you'd have to define comfort, which I won't go into.
But I mean, could you maintain your standard of living just off residuals? And do you have a percentage, for instance, of the merchandising?
Well, there's no residuals. All the Star Trek playing, things that are playing, and not one penny goes to the actors, nor has it for 10 years. When it was made, when Star Trek was made, there was a ruling by the Screen Actors Guild that five repeats, you got minimal amount of money. I think like $100 a play or something like that, and then the company need not pay any more residuals, and that's what's happened in the 10 years, 15, I guess. When you think of the first pilot to 1982. In that time, it's played thousands and thousands of times and places all across the country, has made a great deal of money for Paramount and NBC, to name two, and the actors have never received 1 cent from that kind of payment, and that's the way it worked out contractually in those days.
So, in other words, you really couldn't maintain your standard of living.
I wouldn't want to only do Star Trek. I'm doing, for example, T.J. Hooker, a series on ABC coming this fall, 8 o'clock on Saturday nights, to be exact.
On a competing network.
Is it a competing network?
Yes, that's all right.
And I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm restless and would always be looking for some new challenge.
Well, and you're a fine actor, so you should be doing new challenges and new things. Bill, delightful to see you again.
My pleasure.
Congratulations on a great performance.
Thank you.
Star Trek 2.